All right, if you're ready to have a good time, say uh-huh. If you're ready to have a good time, say uh-huh. Look to your neighbor and say, neighbor, making money is easy. Look to your other neighbor and say, neighbor, my other neighbor needs a Tic Tac. All right, you guys heard my wonderful introduction. If you're an NBA fan, raise your hand. All right, so I feel at home. So if you've seen all my highlights on Sports Center, raise your hand. If you've seen all of my commercials, raise your hand. If you have never heard of me before in your life as an NBA player, raise your hand. All right, let's get right down to business. When people talk about professional sports, they only talk about the superstars. So when we do talk about the NBA, who do we always talk about? Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. When we talk about the NFL, who do we talk about? Drew Brees. When we talk about golf, who do we talk about? We talk about one person. Now, when you get back home, I want you to do a search of your favorite teams and look at their rosters the last 10 years. And here's what you'll find. While everyone else focuses on the superstars, there's only a handful of them. They're an ultra-small minority group. Here's the truth. Professional sports are really made up of guys like me. So what I want to do today is tell you my story, but most importantly, give you some information that can help you build your business. How about that? I believe making money is easy. When I left the NBA and got into business, I doubled my NBA income in 3 years. So Advocare, I want you to get ready. I want you to sit back and buckle up because we're going for a ride. How about that? But before I get started, I need some attitude. So if you want to have a good time, say uh-huh. If you're ready to have a good time, say uh-huh. You guys are ready. Here's your typical NBA story. You guys all heard it before. Young black man grows up in the rough and tough inner city, the ghetto, the projects. He plays his way out the ghetto into the NBA and breaks the curse of poverty forever, only to go broke again. If you've heard that story before, say uh-huh. Lesson number one, if you want to be successful in business, cut off the news. Here's what I know. The media's job is not to tell us the truth. The media's job is to make money. The media has figured out that America is addicted to negative information, so every night at 6, what do we get? Think about it, people. When's the last time you watched the news, turned to your wife, husband, significant other, and said, honey, I feel real good about America? When you cut off the news, you're sad, you're depressed, and nothing is ever good news. Am I right or wrong? Lesson number one, cut off the news. If you paid attention to the media, you would think every black guy was raised by a single mom in the ghetto. I was recently at a conference and a woman grabbed me in the hallway and this is what she said. She says, wow, it's so good to see you doing well. She said, I thought all athletes struggled when they were done playing sports. I said, miss, you only hear about the athletes who struggle. I doubled my NBA income in business. Really? Yeah, really. Lesson number one, cut off the news. I'm gonna tell you my story this morning, this afternoon, and I promise you, you've never heard my story before in your life. Here it goes. I grew up in the rough and tough inner cities of Chicago. And I had a rough childhood, and here's why. My father was 6'6", 240 pounds. My father said what he meant, and he meant every single word he said. We live in what I call the timeout generation. All of a sudden, we've been reading books and watching Oprah. We got a new way to raise kids. I see parents all over America counting. Oh, Hannah, if you don't knock it off, mommy's gonna give you a timeout. I'm gonna count to 3, and if you don't have your fanny in that seat, I'm gonna give you a timeout. 1, 2, 2.5. You know what I realized? Timeouts have been around for a long, long time. My daddy gave timeouts. His timeouts were different. My daddy was a country boy from Tennessee, moved to Chicago to raise his family. Now, don't get the wrong idea. My daddy didn't freak out about little stuff, but when we had it coming to us, we had it coming to us. My sister never got in trouble. It was always my brother and I. My mother would say this: wait until your father gets home. You guys remember that? Man, that was cruel because you couldn't enjoy the rest of your day, could you? Because you knew when daddy got home, it was on. The funny thing about my daddy, he only owned 3 belts. He had a black belt for his black shoes, he had a brown belt for his brown shoes, and he had a 3rd belt I never ever saw him wear with clothes. And now I come to realize that belt wasn't for him, it was for us. And again, my dad didn't freak out about little stuff, and we had it coming to us, we had it coming to us. And this is how our timeouts went. He would go into his closet and grab his favorite leather belt. And he would spank me and my brother till he got tired. And then my daddy would take a timeout. Honey, by the time I was 12 or 13, he could just look at us and we straighten up. It got so bad, I would say, Dad, I'm gonna spank myself this time. Don't even worry about it. I thank God for those timeouts, and here's why. You don't have to worry about a bomb kid playing hooky. You have to worry about a bomb kid talking back in school. You have to worry about a bomb kid stealing the thing. You wouldn't have to worry about a bomb kid sagging his pants so you can see the crack of his butt. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go home and beat your kids. Because some of you guys are looking at me and say, yeah, I can't wait to get home. What I do advocate is to make sure your children can hear your voice. I could always hear my daddy's voice. You have children, you have grandchildren. Can your children and grandchildren hear your voice? I could always hear my daddy's voice. He would say, go out, have a good time, play with your friends, but don't let the street lights beat you home. When those street lights come on, don't be on the front steps, don't be in the driveway, have your butt in the house. Clear instructions. Go out, have a good time, play with your friends, but don't let the street lights beat you home. When those street lights come on, don't be on the front steps, don't be in the driveway, have your butt in the house. So one day we're in the park playing football, the game was tied 49-49. It was a good football game. All the kids from the neighborhood were playing. The teams were evenly matched. And me and my brother figured out when Chicago streetlights come on, they click and make a humming sound. Click, hum. And they take about 3 to 5 minutes to fully illuminate. So me and my brother knew we had 3 to 5 minutes to get our butt home. So we're in the park playing football. The game was tied to 49-49. And all of a sudden, me and my brother heard the click and humming sound of Chicago streetlights. Click, hum. Everybody else ran to the huddle for the next play. Me and my brother just stared at each other, paralyzed in fear. And every single time, one of my friends, I can't remember if it was Pookie or Ray Ray. You didn't grow up with a Pookie or a Ray Ray? They would say something like this: Walter Lewis, don't leave now, the game is tied. All right, next touchdown wins. Me and my brother knew a touchdown could take 15, 20 minutes. So we had another voice competing with our father's voice. We had another voice competing with our father's voice. We had another voice competing with our father's voice. I'm happy to announce my daddy was undefeated. Can your children hear your voice? Here's why it's important, because when they go to school, their peers are talking in the lunch line. They're talking on the school bus. They're talking at lunchtime. They're talking at recess, installing their value system into your children. But if your children can hear your voice, they won't adopt a value system that's not congruent with you and your family's value system. I could always hear my daddy's voice. My daddy was a 6'6", 240-pound high school principal who said what he meant and meant what he said. I was not raised by a single mom. I didn't play my way out the ghetto. I was going to college anyway. If I needed some money, I would say, yo, Pops, I need some money. My daddy drove Lincoln Continentals as long as this stage. So please be careful what you allow the media to teach you. If you rely on the media as your only source of information, you will buy into every stereotype known to man. Here's where my life got tricky. I remember the first day of high school. My mother dressed me up in a nice outfit, and I walked in the first day of school just like this. The one thing I learned about playing the NBA, hear me and hear me good, if you got a notepad, write this down. Confidence is arrogance under control. That's all confidence is. The only thing I miss about the NBA is being around 15 people all day long who are thoroughly convinced they're the best in the world at what they do. That's the only thing I miss about the NBA. I don't miss the money because I make more. I don't miss the travel because I travel more. The only thing I miss about the NBA is being around 15 people all day long who are thoroughly convinced they're the best in the world at what they do. When I left sports and got into the real world, I began to realize that people struggle with confidence. I hate to pick on ladies, but ladies, you are so hard on each other. You hear women say this all the time. I cannot stand that woman right there. Oh, she gets on my nerves. I mean, she thinks she's all that. Ladies, you know I'm telling the truth. In fact, help me finish this statement. Who does she think she is? Well, let me help you out. Michael Jordan knew who he was. LeBron James knows who he is. See, the only way someone's confidence can offend or annoy you is if you struggle with your own confidence. Confident people don't bother me. Confident people don't offend me. I love confident people, but this is what you should be careful of. Don't you ever cross that line into arrogance. Because arrogant people stop growing, arrogant people stop developing, because arrogant people think they have arrived. Be as confident as you can be without crossing the line into arrogance.